It's Wednesday evening. You're listening to Mystic Moon Cafe with Wendy Schindler and Travis Short. Every week, we will interview guests that are experts in various fields of the supernatural, paranormal, unexplained, and esoteric. So sit back and let us take you on a journey to educate, enlighten, and entertain as we broaden your horizons. Now, here's your hosts, Wendy Schindler and Travis Short. You're listening to Mystic Moon Cafe. The views and opinions expressed by guests do not necessarily reflect those of the hosts, the network, or our sponsors.
And that was Bad Seed. Wolves are at the door. Wolves at the door. There we go. Hi, it's me, Wendy. Travis is here somewhere.
I'm here. I'm always here. Always.
Mm-hmm. We all die in the corner around here.
Pretty much. We all float down here.
Wow, it got really quiet. Is it okay on your end?
Yeah, I'm good.
Okay.
I watched the original It with my daughter this past weekend because we saw the remake. Well, the first part a couple of weekends ago. I bought it on DVD, and so she wanted to see the original, so we watched it. And she's like, "There's parts of it that I find scary. There's parts that aren't." I said, "Well, there's parts of it that I'm looking back, watching it now, 30 years later, going, but it still holds up. It still holds up. I'm sorry, it still does, and it's still, for me, it's still it. I mean, yes. I like the new one, but this one's still it."
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, kiss me, fat boy. I'm sorry, you just can't go wrong with Tim Curry.
No, you really can't. Well, or you really can't go right. I'm not sure.
This is true too.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So. Anyway, welcome everyone. It's Mystic Moon Cafe on Thursday nights.
Yes, where we've temporarily, we're actually making our new home on Thursday nights.
We are.
Yes, our fixed home, and then we will, keep popping around here and there. I don't know if Travis has talked to a certain someone yet, but we're hashing out details on a deal, and we'll have more information.
Travis is always talking to certain people. Is the one in particular I'm supposed to talk to? I'm joking. I know who I was supposed to talk to. I know who I'm supposed to discuss this with. We're transitioning. We're making some changes, and it's gonna be really good changes, positive changes. We're excited about the changes.
Absolutely.
Can't you hear it in our voices?
We are actually quite excited about it. It'll be fun.
It is.
It'll be a lot different. Let's hope that my own psyche can give up that level of control there.
You can't. See, I'm okay with it.
You lie. Well, yeah, because we're producing for you all the time, so how could that possibly be bad for you?
It's because I produce all the time through the day.
Yes, but that has more to do with manure than radio.
This is true. Although some would argue that radio is nothing but manure for the ears.
Well, why would they do that?
Well, because I encourage them to do so.
Oh, I see.
Just saying. I don't know. Have you listened to Fox News? Have you listened to?
No, actually, no, I don't. So.
But we're making some changes. We're changing the day. We'll be changing the time eventually.
Yes.
And
at least for a bit until maybe we can get another niche.
Yeah, and then we're working on making some modifications, and all these things are good. It's just we've been doing this show now. Wow, almost 2 years.
Yes. Yes, we have.
It will be. I guess will it be 2 years in March or 2 years in April?
I believe March. Actually, it might be 2 years this year or this month. Excuse me. You have to excuse me. I am getting over the flu, and I'm just still not up to speed.
Well, I've heard this flu is really kicking people's ass.
Yeah, I don't even think I had the bad strain, but it was bad enough that it won't quite let up on the blood sugars and the energy that it's sucking from my soul. You know how these things go.
Yeah, I was married. I understand. I have an ex-wife. I know what it's like. we have Bill Bean is going to be our guest tonight, but there's been a little bit of a we're not exactly sure,
Right.
and we'll clarify when Bill comes on, and I'm not even going to tell you what I think he said, but we'll have Bill on around 9:30. And then
that's 8:30 for those folks closer.
That's
to
true.
Me.
I don't care about. You know what? I'm on the main time zone, which is the Eastern time zone. All you rest of you people just play catch up.
Aaron, I'm going to mute him now, but it'll just be us talking, huh?
The time zones follow the path of the sun. You all are playing catch up.
Yeah, I got
Anyway.
Right. Travis is saying that the sun rises and sets on him, so
I did not make that claim.
Oh, cue music. Where the sun going down on me? Where's that song?
Oh God.
Yes, it's going to be Slap Happy Free Word Association evening until Bill gets here.
I was going to say, hell, I thought we scrapped the idea of a roast. Oh my God! But yeah, we're going to buy a little time until Bill is able to join us. In a couple of weeks, actually on the 22nd, I guess, because we've actually changed the date since we've moved from Wednesdays to Thursdays. So not next week, but the following week, we will have Nick Redfern back on with us. Nick is going to be joining us to discuss his new book, The Slender Man.
Yes.
Yes. And I do know that the book was supposedly mailed, Wendy, day before yesterday.
Okay.
I did find that out, at least. So, but we're the really cool thing about Nick is you really don't even need his book. You just kind of ask Nick questions, and he just kind of
exactly. He goes with it.
He just runs with it. Yeah, it is great. You know, he's one of those really great interviews. It was so funny because yesterday on my morning talk show on the AM station, I had a guy come in. He's the executive director of the Science Center and Planetarium that we have here in the city of Prestonsburg, and they've made just some massive strides working with NASA, doing things back when the solar eclipse happened back in, I guess, late summer.
Mm-hmm. Right. It was on my birthday, the 21st.
Right. Yes, I remember that. Yeah. I do now.
I did too. I never even thought until it went bing.
They had NASA sent them 4,900 pairs of glasses to view the solar eclipse with. Mm-hmm. They were estimating they were going to have between 900 and 1,000 people. They had over 5,000 people show up at the planetarium for the event. It was one of the largest solar eclipse viewing parties that was not in one of the locations of totality. There were people that had driven from Ohio and West Virginia and Georgia and Virginia and Indiana and neighboring states to the planetarium to view the solar eclipse. So we had him on the show. And what I do with our guests, and not everybody hears what we do with our guests when we bring them on, but we tell them that it's going to be a conversation. You know, it's not so much a hard question and answer type of interview, but we want to start a dialogue and we want to have a conversation. And I was soft pedaling and, making him comfortable. And he's like, look, and he's from upstate New York. And he's like, look, he said, I was 10 years as a meteorologist on TV and radio. He said, I've hosted radio shows. I was an announcer for a single A baseball team up in upstate New York. He said, I'm good. He said, you don't even have to ask me a question. He said, you give me 55 minutes and I can fill the airtime. And by God, he did. We had no problems. Now, the week before that, I had two guys on who had never been on radio a day in their life, and I swear to God, you would have thought that they were deer that I had shined a headlight in their faces. And I was literally
Right.
the first couple of questions, they just nodded. And I'm like, okay, yeah. And I said this on air. I said, guys, this is not TV. Nobody can see your head bobbing up and down. I need you to talk. You gotta say something.
Anything. Say it. Just say it.
Yeah. But by the end, by the bottom half of the hour, they actually had loosened up and we were having all kinds of fun.
Oh, sure. That's how things start quite often. Even in our little, universe,
Yeah.
That's how it goes.
Our universe is massive. What are you talking about?
Well, we will be modest, at least for the moment. We don't want to get egos because Bill's coming on and he could smack us down for that.
So what we have is a modicum of momentary modesty.
Yes.
Don't you love the alliteration?
No, not really.
I didn't think you did. So I didn't think so. But Bill is coming on. Bill is actually going to be announcing a new book tonight. Mm-hmm. Had the pleasure of reading it and writing the foreword, and I appreciate the opportunity for doing that.
Well, he sent it to me today, this afternoon, and I haven't had time to do more than just crack it and look at the cover photos.
Yeah. So, and he's going to be talking. We're going to talk a little bit about the exorcism / deliverance that he did back in October that Tia Bell addressed when she was on the show back in December, and then we're going to, of course, we'll end up talking Mandela effect. We'll end up talking conspiracy theories and things like that. But Bill's always a fun guest. One of the Mystic Moon Mafia.
Absolutely, yes.
And then we're lining up other guests for the coming weeks as well. So just playing it by ear.
That reminds me, I was supposed to get a hold of the Celtic witch lady, the Moonbeam, I believe her name is. Well, that's how, to keep her anonymity. That's her public name. But she had the flu weekend before last, and then I had it this last one when I was supposed to get back with her. So that reminds me, I need to get back with her and talk to her more about coming on. And golly, we have a whole bunch of people we've been talking to and just need to kind of seal it and go for it.
Seal the deal, solidify these dates, get people on, and just have at it. And just
once I can pay attention again, hey, we'll be good to go.
Like you paid attention before.
Well, I had a slight more lucidity.
Ooh.
And it was not silent.
I had lucidity once.
Oh, did you?
I did.
Had flashbacks. Yeah. Oh.
Had flashbacks after. Oh wait, no, sorry. That's something totally different. Sorry, my bad. My bad.
Oh, ouch.
What'd you do?
Popped my neck.
Ooh, I need mine too. I've been going to the gym every day, and I've been alternating because, like on Mondays I'll do cardio and free weights. Mm-hmm. Tuesdays I just do cardio, and then Wednesday back to both. But I'm not going to be able to work out tomorrow, so Wednesday I did a full 30 minutes of cardio, and then about an hour and 15 minutes of weight training. But I did that again today. I doubled up, and I'm actually feeling it today.
Yeah, so that's how that works.
Yeah, I'm feeling it. So I could use a hot tub.
Oh, yeah, that would help. Mm-hmm.
Nice barrel of wine. Yes, I said barrel, not bottle. I just say barrel.
Now I expect you to live up to my own. I think I maxed out at like 135 bench pressing when I weighed right at that and was in top form.
Okay, well I will do my best.
Guys wouldn't let me work out with them because my arms were bigger than theirs were.
That's funny.
Right? And they couldn't beat me leg wrestling either.
So, yeah. Mm-hmm. Right now, I've been in the gym for about 2 weeks. I'm really just trying to get back into the habit. Just trying to, play around. Because in about 8 years ago, 2010, I was in the gym. I moved back to Virginia. I was in the gym literally 6 days a week. I was in the best shape of my life. I was 34. Mm-hmm. I was in the best shape. I had, good waist size, good muscle definition. I was just in really good shape. And I kept that for about 2.5 years. And then I got back where I was traveling with clients.
Yeah.
And, then you're eating out and you're working out when the hotel has an exercise facility. So it gets a little difficult. And then 2012, 2013, I was running. And that was pretty much all that I was doing. But I was running like 5 miles a day. And then that stopped. And then I took the job over here. And basically I've been sitting on my ass for 2 years. And I just got really out of shape. And
it happens.
It does. And so it's been trying to get back in the gym, work out, get a regiment going, be faithful to it. And
back
so
in the habit.
Back in the habit. So I go, I work out, I come back here to Jenny Wiley State Park, I shower up, I go grab quick dinner. Most of the time I do a really, really healthy dinner. Tonight I went not unhealthy, but not, typically I do like a sirloin or a hamburger, no bun, things like that.
Right, yeah, no carbs, basically, all proteins.
Steamed vegetables, salad. Actually, I got the steak quesadilla tonight, and so I splurged a little bit.
Oh, yum.
Yeah, it's good. It's good. Actually, their quesadillas here at the resort are better than any quesadilla I've had in a Mexican restaurant in 2 years of being over here. They're amazing.
That's impressive.
They are amazing. Their steaks are good. They're, they have a buffet for dinner. I never do the buffet, but they also have a dinner menu, and they've got some really, really good menu choices on. They have a bison nacho platter that is amazing. But it's also ginormous. Ordered it one night as an appetizer. Didn't even eat the entree.
Oh, my. Okay.
It was huge. And they have what they call the bottomless chips and salsa.
Oh, dear.
I got that one night to bring back to the room with me.
Right.
It's $4 for bottomless chips and salsa. They said, the styrofoam sectioned things that you get at other restaurants where you have the entree and 3 sides. And
oh yeah.
They filled 3 of those with nachos, and then sent 8 cups of salsa.
Holy guacamole! Did they send guacamole?
They did not send guacamole or sour cream because I can't stand sour cream. I do like guacamole, but they don't have that. The salsa is actually handmade, homemade here at the park, and it is amazing. It is some of the best salsa that I've ever had. I swear to God. But yeah, I came back with these, basically boxes and boxes of nachos and 8 cups of salsa. I'm going, holy hell! when they say bottomless, and they're like, if you run out, come back. I'm like, I'm not going to run out. I just wanted something because I don't like sweets. You know this. Everybody that listens to the show knows I hate sweets. What I do get cravings for periodically are crunchy, salty. I don't eat potato chips. I will not eat potato chips.
Okay.
So basically I do like Doritos or Fritos scoop corn chips or regular nachos or the, I forget what they're called, the Harvest whole grain.
Ooh, wow, you just went Max Headroom on me.
I went Max Headroom?
Yes, you did.
No, I don't know why.
Yeah.
That should have.
That was funny.
Okay. I have no clue. But they've got some really good items over here, and they've got a great support staff. It was funny.
I heard that too. Yeah. Anyway.
So, what was I going to say? Oh, it was funny because
you were talking about your food. Yeah.
Yeah, I was, but and basically, I'm just biding the time until Bill texts and said, "Hey, you guys can call me." But I'm also giving nice free plugs to the park here. But it was funny because I stay here Sunday night through Thursday night. But the past 2 weeks, I've actually been leaving on Thursday day and going back to Virginia because my ex-wife has had to leave, and I've had to be there to get the kids and stay and get them to school on Fridays, et cetera, et cetera. It was funny because apparently the first Thursday that I did that, I didn't really tell anyone that I wasn't going to be here Thursday night, and it was a very slow night. They shut the restaurant down at 8 o'clock anyway. The bar stays open till 10. And since it's just me, and literally I am, up until this week, I've been like the only person here. There's a conference going on with wastewater management from all over Kentucky, so they're here training and retraining and having their annual conference. Mm-hmm. But
did you lose it again?
No, I just received a message on my phone. I was checking to see if it was Bill. I apologize. No,
that's okay.
Yeah, but the night that I wasn't here, there was like no one, and the bartender Mickey, who's a great guy, he was thinking about closing the bar up early, and he asked Samantha, who is the over hospitality, so she's over the restaurant and the bar, and he's like, should we just go ahead and close up? And she's like, I don't know. She goes, I'm pretty sure Travis is going to come in for his nightly glass of wine.
At least.
At least. But it's funny that they knew that. But they also know what wine that I order when I come into, which is probably a little less, less nice. But it's funny. It was funny. So, but I heard I encourage folks, if you're coming through Eastern Kentucky and you want a place to stay, they wonderful facility. They've got about 70 rooms here, plus cabins if you want cabins, and then they also we have a whole dock and pier. There's several houseboats here, and pontoon boats and all kinds of fun stuff.
Neat. Pontoons and houseboats. It always surprises me because when I see you post, the signs and stuff, it looks like it should be Jenny Willie instead of Jenny Wiley.
I know, but it isn't.
Until you said it, I that's how my head pronounced it. You know how that goes.
There's one L, Wiley, Wiley. If there were two L's, it'd be Willie.
No, if it was one L, it'd be Wiley. If it was two L's, it'd be Willie.
That's what I said. There's only one L in it, Jenny Wiley.
Okay, yeah. Oh, are you sure? Because I sure thought there were two. Okay. I'm telling you, I'm not back yet. But I was certainly under that impression.
I basically live here, but now you got me looking. I'm trying to
I know, right? That's what I'm good
One L, Jenny Wiley, Wiley. Yeah.
Okay.
You're just seeing.
My bad. Maybe I mistook the E for an L.
Maybe.
Just glanced at it instead of really looked at it.
Or maybe you're just seeing double.
That happens too, But I guess, I'm just lucky to be able to see it all, so I just flow with it. But anyway.
What's going on in the Peanut Gallery? And I do call them the Peanut Gallery, and I know they hate it when I do. But
well, we've got Aaron, and we've got George Warm, and no, we're not going to talk about any convicted sex offenders. I don't support it. I don't want to hear about it. I stand up to it everywhere I can. This isn't what the show's about.
Okay. Mm-hmm. Thanks for that disclaimer. I have no idea what that's about, but thanks for that disclaimer. I appreciate it.
You appreciate me. You know you do.
I do. I do agree with you. I do.
Oh my goodness. Oh, I wanted to tell you. There's a really good urban fantasy fiction book that a series that I follow. It's written by Katie Rhodes. That's Catie Rhodes, and her Perry Jean Mace ghost thriller books. There's one coming out on the 25th, February 25th, called Wrong Turn. And since I get an advanced copy, I have been reading it, and it's really, really good. So when it comes out, all should, get the series first, because there are a lot of books leading up to it, and you'd be really lost without it. Yeah. Anyway, there it is. Plug.
Like I wouldn't be lost in general when it comes to anything and everything.
Well, I can only help so much.
And you do. Mm-hmm. You do. You're like my Jiminy Cricket. You're my Windy Cricket.
Okay.
Windy Cricket. That sounds like the name of a drink. I should copyright.
Wiminy Cricket.
The Windy Cricket, or like a British pub, the Windy Cricket.
The Windy Cricket. There
the
you go.
The Windy Cricket. I like it. The Windy Cricket. I love it. There's all kinds of things.
We need to suggest that to RL next time she comes on. And,
we do.
Have her put it into one of the books when Stone goes and visits England.
Yes. or get a hold of Vanessa Mitchell over there at the. I just drew a blank. What was the name? Crap.
Over in England.
Yes, but the name of the house.
Oh, the squirrel cage. The squirrel cage. The witch's prison over there.
Yes. And put a little pub in over there and call it the Windy Cricket. I think it would be great.
Yeah. It most definitely would be.
I think so. But I'm all about pubs regardless. Let's put a pub here. Let's put a pub there. Call it the Windy Cricket.
There you go.
Call it the. No, I'm going to be nice.
Yeah, why would you start now?
This is a good point.
Sorry.
Well, I was going to say that, or we could open up a bar / strip club and call it the Skank Tank.
Oh my God. Well, okay, but you're going to be running that one because.
Oh my God, I'm sorry. That's just kind of this ongoing private joke that Wendy and I have, and
yes,
we won't really go into it in depth on the show, but you heard her response, so it was damn good. So I hit the nail on the head. So you love it.
Oh yeah, but I'm still not running it.
Hell, I'd run it. There's no problem there. I could do that.
Erin says she'll plug Bill's ears for you.
Oh, that's awesome.
It's bad when you have I guess, and Bill will be on shortly. We're just not, he was running a little bit late, so we're just kind of filling up some time, having some fun. But I already figured that we could tell Bill to cover his ears and go, la, 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 I can't hear you for a few minutes if we have anything.
Bill's a big boy. He'll be fine. Bill can handle.
Most true. Very, very true. And he rolls with it. Ah, goodness. Yes, Bill's either out landscaping or delivering something.
Okay. Oh, now see. Okay, so here's the deal. This evening, I'm finishing my workout at the gym, and my phone rings, but I had it on silent at the gym because I try to be respectful. I'll tell you a funny story about other people who aren't respectful in a second, but I was trying to be respectful, so I turned the volume off, had it on vibrate.
Okay.
And it was on the top of one of the weight machines that I was working out with, and I heard it vibrate on the last ring, and I tried to get it. Missed it. Called Bill back. Bill was driving, and the service wasn't great on his end, and he was telling me that he was going to be late for the show. And I swear to you, I thought he said that he had a last-minute delivery of dirt that he had to do. Now, I tell Wendy that, and she's like, well, that doesn't make any sense. It's January.
Said landscaping, a last-minute landscaping job to finish.
That's what I said first, and then I explained.
Yeah.
That I had heard Bill say, a last-minute delivery of dirt, and then it dawned on me. Well, hell, I could have misheard. He could have said he had a last-minute deliverance to do. So we're not sure if he had a last-minute deliverance or a last-minute delivery of dirt. So I don't know. Yeah. Just not really sure.
Landscaping, and it didn't make much sense because I believe that it's cold, snowy, and icy where he is. So.
So, and Bill just texted me and said, can we call him in 5 minutes?
Sure.
Well, I just texted and said, no. I'll call you right now. No way, William Bean Jr.
That's right. Ooh.
I know.
Yeah.
It's one of the funniest things I ever heard my dad say was when I got married, and I did something like I do, which always causes irate responses in people. And my now ex-wife said, "Rodney Travis Short."
Ooh.
And my dad was in there. He's like, "Well,
That's
why does
why
he?"
it's R. Okay. Mm-hmm.
Yes, and because my dad's name is Rodney. He's like, "Well, why does he get my name when he's only in trouble?"
Right. It's trouble one way or the other. It's
true.
there when they use the three names. Mm-hmm.
Yep, it's bad. So yeah, that's what the R is for. The R is for Rodney.
Aaron's saying, "So formal, aren't we, Travis?"
We are. Yes, Bill. I'm texting Bill now. Yes, we will call in 5, 4, 3.
Oh, am I supposed to be calling?
Yeah, I know, right? So actually now, he sent that at 9:30, so we've got about 3 minutes, and we can call him at 9:35.
Okie dokie. What do you want to talk about now?
I don't know.
Yeah, I still haven't seen the new It, so tell me a little bit more about it.
There are things that I do like about it. Mm-hmm. I do like Bill Skarsgård's take on Pennywise, because he is much more of a late 19th century type clown, as opposed to Tim Curry, whose clown
just creepy
was
beyond imagination.
Well, yes, but I mean, when you think about the TV miniseries, it was set. The first part was set in the 1950s, late 1950s, early 1960s. The second half was brought forward to 1990. And so his clown is much more like Ronald McDonald, Bozo the Clown, the clowns that were popular in the 50s and 60s. So that makes sense. Even though he was supposed to have existed as this clown entity in the late 1800s, early 1900s. But I do like Skarsgård's take on a 19th century kind of clown, very creepy. It of course is the violence is a little more graphic, of course, but I still think that there are scenes in the TV miniseries that are more powerful than they are in this remake. Or I don't want to call it a remake. This new reimagining.
Right. Okay.
But watching the TV miniseries, there were things that I had seen it when it came out back in 1990. I mean, I remember watching it both nights. When it was on as a miniseries, and watching it, and then I watched it on reruns, and then I bought it. I've owned it several different times on VHS. Yes, I said VHS, and then on DVD.
Wait, do we need to go back and explain what VHS is for anybody?
I am not explaining what VHS is. I am not. Just not going to. It was difficult enough explaining some things to my daughter when we were watching it.
Okay.
She's like, "What's that?" Yeah, well.
Mm-hmm.
But there were things that took place in the miniseries that I thought were much more terrifying when I watched it then, and even watching it now, more terrifying than the reimagining. And they changed the time setting. The new one, the flashback scenes take place in the late 1980s, and the second installment of the modern story is going to take place in the present, 2018. Mm-hmm. And I think you lose something by doing that. I think there's something. Well, I'll reserve judgment because I haven't seen how they do the second part, so I don't know.
Okay.
Yeah. I'll reserve my judgment.
Okay, Aaron, we'll leave off that then. Aaron had said that tell Bill we're in the chat room chanting Bill's name, and that made me flash to Chicago, the movie Chicago, where they were, going, "We want Billy." But she hasn't seen either one, so.
Oh, I love Chicago. I mean, I've seen the play. I've seen the play, and then I've also seen the movie version play.
Oh wow, okay. I've only seen the movie version, but that's
I mean, it's kind of like that one ranks up there for me with like I love Cabaret. I've seen Cabaret perform several times, and then I've of course seen the movie with Liza Minnelli. And I love Cabaret.
Okay. See, I never cared that much for Liza Minnelli. I didn't hate her or anything, but she just didn't.
But I just love the story Cabaret. Mm-hmm. I love everything about that, and I've seen it performed at the college level. I've seen it performed at the professional level, and I've seen it performed by a children's theater group, which was odd.
That would be odd. That's just not children's material.
Odd. No, it's not. It was. Yeah, I'm just going to leave it at that. Yeah,
that's what it was. All right.
I just like, wow. When you've got a cabaret dancer that smiles at you wearing braces, it's like,
Oh, I feel so wrong. Yeah, that's wrong on so many levels.
Yeah, I was not happy.
But then again, it might be really cute.
It really wasn't. I mean, it wasn't cute. I mean, they did an amazing job with the performance. They really did. But it was just like, no. Did your parents even know what this play is about? Do they know?
They do, but it was little kids, so it was okay. It was their little kids.
I mean, I love the fact that my daughter's into theater now. I don't know if I would let my 13-year-old daughter, though, do cabaret.
Okay, you were really cutting out there. That was the coolest cabaret version I've ever heard in my whole life. Cabaret.
Did I say cabaret? I was going to say, no, I didn't do that. Obviously, the connection did that.
Yes, yeah. There's storms between here and there, probably. So
probably there's. Yeah, I was going to say, did I say cabaret or cabernet? I can't remember which.
Either one, yeah. All right. Now, I am, anybody trying to get me on Facebook, I just shut that down in case it is a poll on my system. It shouldn't be, but since one never knows for positive sure, I'm pretty much just in this chat room. Although you can get me on my phone, so.
Well, let's call Bill. I think it's been 5 minutes.
I am.
Oh, okay. Well,
that's where I was flipping over to.
You're just that good.
I am, actually.
Let's get Mr. Bean on.
Sean? One doesn't simply.
Exactly. Well, I was thinking Rowan Atkinson's Mr. Bean, on the BBC.
You were,
yeah, I know.
I would much prefer the other. Thank you.
I know, but I think Dark. The terrifying story of the Bean family. I think it would be so much a totally different story if we had Rowan Atkinson's Mr. Bean.
It's possible he can hear
Hello?
you. See, I told you.
How you doing,
Bill.
sir?
Hi, guys. How's everything?
Oh, fine. We've just been biding time, waiting on you.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I'm sorry for the delay, and I hope you're feeling better now.
Yeah.
And so the last time it was Travis who was under the weather when I was on, and this time it's Wendy.
Travis was under something.
He was under something.
Yeah.
He was under duress.
There we go. Under duress.
That is true. That is very true.
And
exactly.
The chat room was chanting your name, so we figured we got your attention.
Yeah.
Well, praise God. I'm glad to be back with you guys, and there's more to talk about, that's for sure, and it's a never-ending process. If you put my story aside, just the things that are taking place in the world on a daily basis, just mind-boggling, and each and every day brings something new and bizarre.
It's funny, not in the ha-ha laughing sense, but in the ironic sense, just how bizarre things have started happening. On several different levels, and there's so much that we want to talk to you about. But I want to give you the opportunity right off the bat to let people know about your new book? Because I want to kind of use that as a springboard and then backtrack from there, because you are getting ready to release your 4th book.
Yeah, and I want to thank you, Travis. That was an outstanding review that you wrote for the book, The Forward. Just incredible. And it really, and I told you this privately, and I'll say it publicly now, it really sets the tone. In my opinion, it sets the tone for the book. And I was just reading through a little bit of it before we came on air, and just amazing. So I really appreciate that. Top-notch review and forward of the book, and it truly does. It just sets the tone for the rest of it.
Well, I think, you and I have known each other now 8 years.
Yeah.
Dark Force and Delivered were already published by the time that you and I started working together and became friends, and then 10 Steps to Victory came along. And then this new book, The Connection, and I think it really marries all 3 of the previous works. And I read it, and it speaks it speaks to your history and your past. It speaks to what has made you the man that you are today. It speaks to the calling in life that you have, what you're doing. And so, I really do think this is, you said you think it's your best work. I would not go as far as to say it's your best, because I think each of your books stand alone by themselves in different ways and different genres. I do think by far this is your most, probably it's the most intimate book that you've ever written, because you really do peel back the layers that every person has, those barriers that are set up. And you and I like I said, we've known each other 8 years. There are still aspects of your story from the trauma and the hauntings there in Maryland that I'm still finding out about, because you open up a little bit more each time. And then there's still things that you're finding out about, because like we discussed in the fall, you on Labor Day had sat down and met with your brother, and your brother opened up to you about things that you didn't know about. And so there's always these new experiences and these new discoveries.
Mm-hmm. That's true. This was layered so thick that I have a feeling that the day will come to where a lot more will be revealed. That this is we've been able to cover a lot, but I think there's a lot more to be uncovered, and I do believe that that's going to come at some point in time.
Yeah, absolutely. So I want to start off this particular segment, because I know there are things that you want to talk about that are happening right now, and we'll get to those. But I want to kind of bridge a gap that we have, because you were supposed to be on the show back in early December, and you weren't able to. You sent the very lovely and very engaging Tia Bell to talk on your behalf about an experience that you had in October of last year, which was a deliverance / exorcism that you performed. We heard Tia's side of the story. We've got about 15 minutes before the top of the hour. So what I'd like to do is, for this 15 minutes leading up to 10 o'clock, you just kind of tell us about that story from your perspective and what went on. And because you called me not long after this event took place, and I have known you, like I said, 8 years, and I have known you've kept me in the loop on almost every deliverance that you've ever made. I never know the person's name. You have never one time divulged the name of one of your clients to me. I've never asked, and you've never divulged it because of the confidentiality. But you always tell me this. You tell me the circumstances. I've heard about every one of them. I have never, in 8 years of knowing you, I've never known you to call me and tell me that something terrified you the way that this particular deliverance terrified you.
Well, that lady, God bless her, and she's doing very well now, praise God. And that happened on October 27th, and I'll certainly never forget it. But, usually in these things, I have a certain way of going about it, not a cookie-cutter way, because God works through me to deal with each individual a little bit differently, and I rely on my holy discernment from God to approach things a little differently per each person. But there is a general framework and an idea and a pattern that I do draw from, and certainly anticipated on being working within those parameters for this case. And it just did not go that way from the very beginning. Boy, I'll tell you, it was probably somewhere around 5:30 in the evening. It was still light outside. And the husband opened the door, very nice man, good man, military man, upper middle class family, beautiful home, nice area, very unsuspecting. You would never think that something like that would take place in an area such as that. And I just recall the husband opening the door, and the victim, his wife, was probably 20 feet behind him into the living room towards the, edge of the living room towards the dining room. And when he opened the door, she growled and hissed at me. And I knew right then and there that all my, the framework that I normally work within was going to be out the window, because I was going to have to engage in this spiritual battle right away. So usually when I go to a person's house, I will say prayers outside first, the Lamb blessing prayer, and I ask God to send his giant warrior angels. I ask God to forgive any wickedness or bloodshed that may have taken place, on the land, in the history of the land. And then I declare that land to be blessed, sealed, sanctified, purified, cleansed, and made holy before God.
Nice.
Then I'll proceed into the house. I'm sorry, Wendy, go ahead.
I said that was very nice. I like that.
Yeah, that's what I always do.
Mm-hmm.
And, that is part of that's a constant right there. So, and then I usually proceed into the house, and I will anoint the heads of all who are present with a holy mixture, a combination of holy water, holy oil, holy salt. And then we will sit down. I'll say some prayers first. I'll say the Lord's Prayer, and then I'll say a house blessing prayer, Psalm 91, 1 Chronicles 13, and then I say Hebrews 11, verses 1 through 6, and then it's Psalm 23 as well. And then we sit down, and I have to become a counselor at that point, because I have to know everything. It's not that I want to know the person's deep and dark secrets, but I have to know it all, because in knowing it all, that helps me to get to the root of the problem. And furthermore, when we are bringing up the deep and dark things, this is part of the purging process. So the devil deals in legalities. If he feels that he has a legal right to be there, he'll literally take that to God, and God will allow it because of our free will and our freedom of choice. And so the devil can remain there hanging on to those types of things. But when the person is starting to bring these things up in this purging process, it is breaking all legal right that the devil has over their life. So usually I work, these are the constants that I work in, but on this particular day, that was out the window, because again, when the man opened the door, she was already fully possessed, and she growled and hissed, and I proceeded right in. I didn't skip a beat, though it was startling, because it was certainly out of the norm. It was startling that it was taking place, right off the bat. Mm-hmm. But I don't waver for 1 second, in my faith, or I cannot be in fear at all, because I have to be in control. So when he opened the door and she was growling and hissing like that, well, I quickly advanced right towards her. And then she started to retreat. And it was the power of God working through me that made those powers of darkness that were working through her retreat, to try and get away. And so I followed her right into the dining room and backed her into a corner, literally. And she had a glass, I guess it's like a chalice-looking thing. I think it was red up the top and clear down the bottom, or vice versa. and there was a picture in there, and she was wearing a necklace that, and this plays very big into this, because this poor lady suffered horrific abuse as a child. I mean, some of the worst, if not the worst, some of these things that took place that I've ever heard in my career. And let's just say that one of the abusers had passed recently, and when these pictures and this necklace came into the home, the husband said that's when things started to activate.
That was the trigger.
Yes, and so at this point, I'm advancing towards her. She's backed into a corner, so then she attacks, and she tried to hit me with the glass, which I blocked it, and then she was trying to bite me. She was spitting on me, kicking me. I had to take her to the ground, and I took her to the ground, and I was probably subduing her, no exaggeration, for 25 minutes. And this was a total battle, and Tia was there.
You're a big man.
Yeah, but when somebody's under the influence or taken over by these types of forces, they become very powerful. And so praise God for the power of God working through me to be able to overcome the power of the devil that was working through her. So, I mean, this was a battle in every sense of the word. I mean, mental, spiritual, and physical. And so Tia is handing me the Bible and my holy mixture, and I'm trying to, with one hand, to subdue this woman, and then the other trying to, hit her with the holy mixture and pray out of the Bible. And it had come to the point where I couldn't even use the Bible to pray anymore. I just had to rely on my memory to be able to say some of these prayers, and I praise God for that. But it was a titanic struggle that, no exaggeration, lasted for at least 25 minutes. And so then my plan after that was, and after that constant battle back and forth to where, I'm subduing her, she's trying to bite me the whole time, spitting at me, just hurling profanities and just, every foul thing you could think of. At one point also saying, she's ours, you can't have her, and things like that. And I just continued on, by the mighty power of Yahweh and his mighty and holy name, in Jesus' name, I bind and rebuke all of you demons, and I command you to loose this woman, so it just kept going back and forth until it got to the point to where they let her go. And I knew in my spirit, in my mind, that it was not over. I knew that this was just round one, and so my plan after that was to get her back on her feet and get her into the bathroom, into this large shower. And I was going to bless the water and get her in there and continue the deliverance and prepare for the baptism, because I knew that if I could get her that far, then these things would loose her, they would let her go, and God would absolutely intervene and free this woman. So that was the plan. Get her up to her feet, and we're getting her into the bathroom, into the shower area. Now, I asked her husband to run the water. He starts the water, and now, I've got to get her in there, and I've got to get this water blessed before I get her under. So, I start blessing the water, and then all of a sudden, these demonic forces manifest again from within her, and now it becomes a physical battle once again. So I'm physically struggling with her in the shower, and I'm in dress clothes. At this point, the water's gone everywhere. My dress clothes I'm drenched, and none of that mattered at that point. You're talking about life and death kind of stuff here now. And so as this titanic struggle continued, I just had to be unwavered in faith and continued to bind and rebuke and cast out. And while this was taking place, all these different voices manifested from within this woman. And so I had to bind and rebuke and cast each one of them out. So this was an incredible process. It was definitely one for the books, and I've seen a lot of things in my life, and some of the things that took place on that evening were definitely off the charts. And so the final piece of this puzzle was to get her subdued enough and under control again in the shower to get her over to the large soaker tub, which was probably about 15 feet away to the left. And I called her husband in again, and he came and ran the water for that. And then Tia assisted me in getting her out of there and into that tub, which was another struggle. It was another physical struggle to get her in there, but I knew once I could get her in there that it would be the final piece. And certainly, if I could get her in there and continue to bind and rebuke and cast out all of these entities, then I could get her under the water for this fully immersed baptism, and I knew that she would be saved then and freed from this. So that was the ultimate plan for me, and you got to think very, very fast when these types of things are going on, because this is battle. And so at one point I said to her, I said, look, I know, and I called her by her name, and I said, I know you're in there. I know you can hear me. God is doing his part now. He is freeing you from this. I'm doing my part. God is working through me to free you from this, and now you have to do your part. And your part is to fight and to want to be free and have this junk gone forever. So as I'm saying these things, I can feel the grip loosening, such a tight grip on this lady, because I can't say on the show, some of these horrific things that happened to this woman, just unfathomable things that you can't imagine in your worst nightmares happened to this lady as a child. And it is no wonder that she had the level of demonic possession that she did by all of those traumas that were built up over her for so long that affected her but lay dormant until those cursed objects came in and became triggers, like Wendy said, and it's a very good word for that. Mm-hmm. And once they came in, boy, it's just amazing. Her husband was terrified. Good man, really good. Again, very good man, and both husband and wife, wonderful people. And he was so distraught and upset. He was also physically attacked by her that day, and on the first occasion when this actually manifested, which Tia referred them to me because she had seen her on this one particular day, I think a week or so before all of this took place, and she had come under full possession in her office, and so they had a battle with her on that day that all this manifested then. So that was, where it began. So the poor husband, he had been through a lot in seeing this unfathomable thing happen to where he couldn't believe it was actually happening. But once it was all over with, and the more I continued to ask her to do her part in getting rid of this, well then, not only was the grip lessening, but other voices were still coming. And she was talking in all these different voices, and I would have to bind and rebuke and cast out each and every one of them. But then she, too, would come in her own voice and start to have dialogue and start to tell me about some of the things that had happened, some of the horrific things. And as she was saying these things and bringing them up and getting them up and out and off, again, you could feel the grip just loosening more and more. So finally, we had gotten to a place to where I felt like all the entities were bound and cast out of her, and I got to the baptismal part, and once it came time to fully immerse her in these baptismal waters, and by the mighty power of Yahweh in Jesus' name, to have his power come over her and be activated within her, when that happened, when I got her under and pulled her back up, you could feel it totally leave her. You know, when demons leave a person, it's like you can't see them loosing the person, but you could see the person being loosed, if that makes any sense. And when
it does.
Yeah, and when they let go, it's just like the person just drops down, you know, and then they start to cry, and that's exactly what happened in this case. And I can't tell you the level of joy that I had, you know, as that was taking place, and knowing that this woman was free and that she was okay, that she was going to be okay. It was one of the greatest moments in my life, certainly in my career, of going around and having God to work through me to help people like this.
Now, I have to ask a real quick question, and because this is the first time that you and I have talked publicly about this particular deliverance, but also it's the first time that I've ever heard you talk about there being multiple voices emanating from the person.
Oh, yeah.
We've talked about them changing voices. We've talked about a different voice coming from the possessed. But you specifically talked about multiple voices, multiple demonic entities. Do you have a hard number or even an estimate of how many demons were possessing this woman?
Based on my recollections, if I'm not mistaken, I've probably at least 6 different voices.
Male, female, combination?
Both. Yeah, both. One was, and a child, voice of a child as well. And so some were these guttural, deep, masculine voices, and other were female, and then one was a child, and it was, the child was speaking as if from London, you know, from the UK or something, and had that type of
Cockney British accent, yeah.
Yes, exactly. And I'll tell you, it is something that I wouldn't wish on anybody. I'm so thankful to God for working through me to free that woman. But boy, oh boy, that would be one that if people would have videotaped that whole thing, some would look at that and say, I can't believe what I'm seeing. I can't believe that this could actually be real. It is so hard to fathom that something like that can actually be real. But I assure you, it was 100% real. And I'm just thankful again that God worked through me to free this woman and to help her.
You were definitely there at the right time, right place, the whole 9 yards. Woo.
Yeah, it was perfect timing, because I feel that had that gone on much longer without any type of divine intervention, there could have been a tragedy there.
Absolutely.
There could have been multiple tragedies there.
Mm-hmm.
So thank God.
So have you stayed in touch with the woman and her husband? Are they doing okay? Have there been relapses, flashbacks, throwbacks, any type of...
The last I heard, and as you know, I've been super busy, and I haven't had a chance to connect with them over the last weeks or maybe month and a half. But prior to that, I did hear from Tia that they are doing very well, and I'm so thankful for that. And may they continue to do well. May she have nothing, and her husband as well, nothing but love, peace, joy, good health, and prosperity for life. I pray they move forward in a gigantic way. They're such good people. And they both told me, you know, treat this house as your house. When you're in the area, you come here and stay with us, and you need a place to stay, you know, if you're in town, and, you know, you just come here. I mean, they're just great people.
Wonderful.
Yep, absolutely fantastic.
So God wins again. We thank Him and praise Him for it. And it would have to be something in order to truly understand and grasp exactly what took place on that day and evening. I think one would have had to have been there to really see it all, and then try and process what they were seeing and taking in.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Now, I'm going to ask you one other question about this event, and then I want to move on to other topics. But the question is a little bit more. It's about this particular deliverance, but it speaks to all the other deliverances as well. Mm-hmm. How does Bill Bean, after an encounter such as that, how does Bill Bean solidify himself and insulate himself and make sure that he's not going to be attacked afterwards? And how do you recharge? How do you start building? Because I know for a fact, I've never done a deliverance. I was a minister. I have ministered to individuals as a chaplain for the sheriff's department, as a chaplain for the hospital. All that is a draining, emotionally, psychically, psychologically, spiritually. It's a draining experience. A deliverance has to be that times 100.
Yeah, you're totally right. And you were reading my mind because, as we're talking about this, I'm seeing myself, after the fact, and I recall being so drained. But here's the amazing thing, and this is just, there's no limit to God's power. I was totally drained. I didn't have anything left, but yet, when I left there, I went and met with some people who wanted to meet me. I sat down with them. I was so tired, but I made time to sit down and talk with these people because they really wanted to meet me and talk with me. They wanted to get pictures. They got a couple of my books, and so I made some time for them. I sat there, and I probably stayed with them for, I don't know, maybe an hour and a half, maybe 2 hours. And I left there, and I had to meet another friend of mine who was actually a client. God had worked through me to free him from some pretty bad stuff, too, at one time. And so the exorcism took place in Stroudsburg, Pennsylvania. So I had to go back to near Wayne, New Jersey, to meet these people, which is probably about an hour ride. And so then I probably spent an hour and a half, 2 hours with those people, and then left there and drove another hour and 15 minutes to meet this client somewhere in New Jersey. I don't even remember where it was. It was headed on the way back to Baltimore. And so I met with him, and his name is Bart, and he's become a very good friend, and God bless him. But he was so grateful for me taking the time and caring about him. And I say, when people say to me, thank you, I say, don't thank me, praise God. It's all God. It's the mercy and the favor of God. It's God hearing our prayers and God working through me, and I praise him for that. But Bart was so grateful that he actually gave me something. Now, I'm a guitarist, and I have a bunch of guitars, still in my home, and I don't get a chance to practice like I used to, but I still do try to take a little bit of time to practice. But anyway, Bart was so grateful that he actually gave me a vintage guitar to add to my collection. I didn't want it. I said, I can't take this from you. Are you kidding? I mean, this is valuable. This is something that you should hold on to. And he said, nope, this is the least I can do. And so he gave me a beautiful vintage guitar to add to my collection. So I had met with him at a diner. We sat down. We got something to eat. And then I was tired beyond tired by the time I left him, and I actually ended up driving 3.5 hours home from there. And so it is all God. It is God who refuels me. It is God who keeps me moving forward. I have to move forward in warrior mode, faith, strength, and courage each and every day of my life, because I have to be somebody for somebody every day of my life.
Right.
This man does not take a holiday. He does not take a vacation. He never takes a day off. This I can vouch for.
It's the truth. I mean, and again, it's all God. I've had times where I've been so tired that I just can't even remember. Now, most of the time I fly. But if I'm in an area to where it's near to Maryland, whether that's Pennsylvania or Virginia or Delaware or New York or New Jersey. All these areas I will drive to. And, I've had times to where I've been so tired, I just thought, my goodness, I don't even remember most of that trip. I don't even know how I was able to endure it, the ride home. And it is all God. I remember another time, it was the week after that. It was in November, the first week of November, after the exorcism had taken place, I had to go to a place called Groversville, New York. And that is way up there. It's about an hour or so past Albany.
Yeah.
And this is, probably at least 2 hours outside of the city north or maybe more. And it was bitterly cold. And I drove, it was probably, I don't know, a six-hour drive or so each way. And I recall getting there, and these people, again, this is mountains. When you get to this area, it's mountainous, and it was probably 15 degrees, and the winds were blowing probably 25, 30 miles an hour. And they had 4 acres of land, and these people were having titanic problems, and they were having problems that originated from the land, and they felt that it was a previous owner also, because they were seeing apparitions of several different entities, including the previous owner, which was an old man who had a cane. And so I get there. Now, they were saying their animals, their pets were being attacked as well. And some of the pets would go to the edge of the woods. I'd say they probably had an acre and a half that was, where they had their things on it, of yard and sheds and pools and all that kind of stuff. And then the rest was a wooded area behind that, very densely, wooded area. And I recall arriving there, and I was referred to these people by another good friend now, Jason McLeod. And so this was originally Jason's case, and so he referred these people to me, and that's how it came to be. And I went there, and I just remember getting out of the vehicle, and not only was it bitterly cold, but I knew I felt like we were being watched from the woods. And so my plan there was, again, to bless everything and ask God to send his giant warrior angels to carry any and every demon off that may be present in, on, or around the property or in those woods, and to deposit them back into the pits of hell where they belong. So that's, I started into that, still feel like we're being watched. And then it came to me, I don't claim to be anything other than a humble servant for God and a fierce warrior for him, but God does give me gifts, and he gives me a knowing of things at times. And he put into my mind and my spirit that we were being watched by these Sasquatch Bigfoot creatures that were in the woods. Now, I didn't see them, but I sure felt them. And so at one point, I actually went right to the edge of the property where it would go into the woods, and I stood there and I said, I want all of you to go. I want you to go in peace. You're frightening these people, and I want you to leave now. God be with you. Go in peace. And you could feel whatever it was, which I definitely believe were those Sasquatch creatures. You could feel them leave. You could feel the presence leave. So that's where it started. And, so I went around that property. The homeowners had salt, sea salt, and I blessed all of that. And we distributed that around all the perimeters of the property and the home. And then I went inside. We all went in. And I was probably in there for 4 or 5 hours, just going through every part of the house. And even before that, I had to get everybody's story, and the children were being affected and being attacked and seeing these apparitions as well. And something I failed to mention before we went into the house, the man of the house, the homeowner, was telling me that the old man's cane, that a psychic had told him that the old man's cane was still there on the property, and that's what was holding the man to the property. And so it was amazing because, we're going through this whole property, and there must have been 1, 2, 3, 4, a garage and 4 of these shed-like garage types of things on the property. And on the third one down, so just picture going into the driveway and you see like a garage, and then 1, 2, 3 of these garage-looking types of sheds behind that. And on the third one down, in the outer soffit, as we're going through and spreading this salt everywhere, I happen to see it. The cane was inside of the soffit area, and now, the man I said, well, this must be it right here, and the man saying, that's got to be it, how are we going to get it out? And again, this is another testament of the power of God. Now, I did have gloves on, and I reached and grabbed a hold of that soffit, and I was able to literally break that soffit free to where I could reach in and grab that cane out of there. And that's exactly what I did, and got it out. And they had a fire pit in the backyard there, and I said, I'm going to pray over this first, and I'm going to bind and rebuke any demons that may be in, on, or around it, and any soul ties and all these things that may be, on this object, and cast out, all this negative junk and all curses, hexes, vexes, and spells, and whatever it may be. And so he, started the fire and put this thing right in the fire, and it would not burn. It was right in the middle of the fire, and it wouldn't burn. And then I had to go over to it again, and I said, by the mighty power of Yahweh and his mighty and holy name, in Jesus' name, I command every demon to leave this cane now. And I really had to take power and authority over it. And then it finally started burning. But it was amazing to see that thing in the center of the fire, raging fire now, and it was not burning.
What was the age, the history behind the cane? Was it?
Yeah, according to the homeowner, he said that the old man was a nasty old man, and he used to hit people with the cane and all this kind of stuff, and so he was not a nice person, and he was one of several entities that were terrorizing the family and the pets as well. But what he didn't understand was that the Sasquatch, Bigfoot creatures were a part of this also, and affecting the pets, as the pets were going to the edge of the property towards those woods.
Just because I'm me, now the energy that you felt. Well, I pick up on energies too. I'm sorry. That's and I get curious about other people's. Mm-hmm. Now, are you absolutely sure it was a Sasquatch, Bigfoot, or just a really alien type of energy that's how you were best able to rectify in your own mind what it might be?
No, they're all connected anyway, Wendy. They're all connected.
Well, that's
all this
true.
phenomena is connected.
Yeah.
And I've had so many experiences with all of these types of things. And that's another thing that I ask clients when I, go to their homes. Are they having UFO sightings and things of that nature? Because it is all connected. And, the Sasquatch beings, in my opinion, are the fallen of the fallen. So they're the offspring of the fallen. So the Benai Elohim, the sons of God that came down and took human women and produced a hybrid offspring of giants known as the Nephilim. If you read the book of Enoch, it talks about these giants who were they couldn't be sustained. The men of the earth tried to sustain them with foods, and then they started eating the men of the earth because they couldn't be sustained. Their appetites couldn't be sustained. And so they also started having sex with, unnatural sex acts with the beasts of the field. And some of these were bears and apes. And this is where your Sasquatch creatures come from, because they are a hybrid crossbreed of Nephilim, human, and whatever animal it may be that, that these things, reproduced with.
Right,
and,
right.
So this is why there are so many different looking types of these creatures, because some look human with hair all over them, and others look like apes, and others have this kind of where they look like bears. They have this kind of. So it certainly would explain it if that's true. And there are many cases also of these creatures either coming out of or going into UFOs.
That's wow, you've just given me a whole bunch of stuff to think about, Bill. Thanks, man.
Well,
it's all connected.
Right.
It's very true. The majority of Sasquatch Bigfoot sightings do coincide with waves of UFO sightings. It's not uncommon for that to happen. Bill is addressing many of the same things that L.A. Marzulli has addressed in his books, and is the same line of thinking that I presented for 4 years at the Mothman Prophecies, or the Mothman
Chronicles.
Shoot. Well, no. Well, the actual festival, Mothman Festival.
Oh, okay.
I was going for Mothman Festival, the Mothman Festival. That what was being seen there was, a Nephilim. It was an offspring. It was a hybrid that had been created.
Yeah, no question. I'm in total agreement.
The glowing eyes, those types of things. And
boy, I'll tell you, Travis, you're onto something now, and boy, these things are being seen quite regularly now in the Chicago area and the outlying areas, of Chicago. And I have no doubt in my mind it is the same type of creature that has been seen so many times in, West Virginia and other places.
Yeah, and in the writings of Josephus, he actually chronicles that there were two very distinct markings or signatures of the Nephilim. One was a piercing sound that they emanated, a growl. It was a deafening sound, but also a horrible, horrible stench that was a combination of sulfur and rot and decay. And both of those things are. And this is in a very obscure text by Josephus. It's not among his early church writings. This is just in the history that Josephus outlines. Those two things have consistently been related, especially to Sasquatch and Bigfoot. The stench, the smell of sulfur, and an earth-shattering sound, a howl, a scream.
Yeah, no question about it. And they are, so the supernatural part of them can make them invisible. They could be there and you wouldn't even know it. Unless you're smelling them, you wouldn't even know it, because they have this ability to cloak themselves, and they have other supernatural abilities as well. I mean, I've read reports and talked with researchers such as Stan Gordon that told me that he knows of cases that took place in the Pittsburgh area many years ago, to where hunters came upon two of these, 8-foot tall creatures and fired 30-06 rifles. These are powerful rifles, and they're firing shells from a 30-06 into the chest of these creatures,
and not causing anything.
Didn't drop them.
No.
And then they just vanished. They just simply vanished.
Which would explain one of the most often asked questions about Sasquatch and Bigfoot is, why have we never found bones, remains, carcasses, anything? It's because they're not physical.
That would be me always asking that. Why haven't we found them?
Because they're not physical in the sense of they're not cryptozoological. Just like I've always said, Mothman does not fall into the crypt. He's not a cryptid. It's not an uncategorized.
Exactly right. You're talking about something in a spiritual realm. Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. Exactly. It has physical appearances and physical characteristics, but it doesn't exist in a physical way in which that it can be that there could be remains. It's not going to die.
put it in the box and
Right.
say, okay, this is another of the creatures on the earth. Well, no, this is supernatural, so it cannot be put in the box. And this is why there is so much theory, conjecture, speculation, and confusion pertaining to all of these things, because it cannot be put into the box because it is beyond human understanding.
Indeed.
And I also recall that very same night, it's another one of those cases of being totally exhausted, and I went with Jason and the young man that was with him. We went to a nearby diner. Now, I'm out in the middle of nowhere, and so we go to this diner, and I don't drink coffee, but I had a couple cups of coffee that night because I actually drove home from there 6+ hours and just totally just wiped out. But I drove home, and I recall during my drive, I was in the Hudson Valley, and this is a known hotspot for UFOs.
Mm-hmm.
And it's probably 3 in the morning. I am in the Hudson Valley. There are no other vehicles on the road at that time, just an occasional passing 18-wheeler or something like that. But I'm in nowhere, in the middle of nowhere. And it was right before I got to a town called Newburgh. And before I saw the object, let me back up a little bit. When I left the diner, there was a copter that came over. Now, Travis could tell you that, I have had these copters around me for many, many years, and no matter where I go, these copters seem to be around. So that's where it started. I came out of the diner, and this copter came over, and it actually stayed with me for about 10 minutes as I was going down the road. So that was part one. And then part two was that I got a ways down the road, and I was in the Hudson Valley probably 20 miles before I got into a town called Newburgh. And this object came out of nowhere, and so I was traveling south, so it was coming out of the west, and it was blue. It was an electric blue color, and it had a red light on the top, but it looked to me like the classic disc-shaped object. It was electric blue, and you could see a small red light on top. And that object stayed with me probably for about 16 or 18 miles prior to getting into that town of Newburgh. And part of me wanted to stop because I wanted to stop and document this thing and get pictures of it. But another part of me was saying that might not be a wise thing to do because you're in the middle of nowhere, and if something goes bad here, nobody's going to know it. And so I decided that I better keep pressing on, and I did. And when I got to this gas station in Newburgh, I stopped and looked, and it was gone. But boy, I wish I could have gotten a couple pictures of that or footage of that because it was, again, this object was vivid. It was like just a neon electric type of blue, and it was with me for quite a while down the road.
Wow. Now, honestly, when things like that come along, I think they're hard to get good, clear footage of because of the energy signature, basically, or the source, the frequency, whatever. I think it interferes with our recording devices.
It does. And there are times that I've gotten good pictures of objects like that, and there are other times it would come out all fuzzy and blurry because of what you just said. It's true. Mm-hmm. There are energy and force fields around these objects that prohibit, getting crystal clear pics unless they want the person to get a crystal clear pic, and then somehow the energy field dissipates to where, the person's allowed to get a very nice and clear shot. But, it was just one of the things to add to the list, par for the course. And, so I recall pulling into that gas station, somewhere after 3 in the morning, and filling my gas tank up and looking everywhere for that object, and it was nowhere around, and I didn't see it anymore after that. So after I had started back on the road from the gas station, I didn't have any more sightings of that or any other objects.
Well, thank goodness, right?
Well, I mean, again, I've documented, I've probably taken, since 1995, I've probably taken hundreds or more, of photographs of these objects. I mean, it was so bizarre that they would come to my home. I would put a camcorder out on a tripod, and these objects would come, and I'd be able to document them. My footage has been featured on the 6 o'clock news, the 10 o'clock news, the 11 o'clock news. It's been on all of them, and so that's how bizarre it was for such a long time. So I'm used to having these types of interactions, but I also, when I feel God is telling me something, I listen. I try to. When God is warning me or telling me something that I could have been in a dangerous situation, so I listened to the inner urging from God at that point in time, to where I thought, I better not stop. This might not be safe, and this could really turn into a bad situation. So I continued just to head on down the road.
Good choice.
Yep. It's funny.
Yeah, I think so at that point in time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That intuition or, God's niggling little, hey, listen to me, you better run. Not run necessarily, but you better just move on down the road.
Yeah. I knew that it definitely wasn't the right thing to do. And yet, I had this clear visual of it all the way down the road. I just 16, 18 miles down the road, of having this clear vision of it. And I mean, it was right there. And it was, what it was doing was just kind of staying ahead of me. It was staying ahead of me enough for me to be able to see it clearly out of my windshield. And so it's just amazing how it would keep that distance just enough for you to have that clear visual of it.
Mm-hmm.
So it's just one of the things to add to the list.
Right. Now, I had a question from back in, when you do your deliverances, if that's okay.
Sure.
Do you ever record them so that you can go back and kind of identify certain, just go back and see what you may have missed while you were in the heat of the moment? Or is it done and you leave it to God to be done at that point?
Yeah, it's done. And most people wouldn't want it recorded anyway, because people who are suffering these types of traumas, they're embarrassed by it. They're ashamed by it. And they don't want
it. Sure.
Yeah, in most cases, they wouldn't want it recorded, and I would never do something like that unless requested. And there has been maybe one or two that did request, and I had like a body camera on me, thanks to my dear friend Mike Supa, who lives out in that area near the Hudson Valley, and he actually, as a gift, had given me one of those body cams like the police wear.
Oh, neat.
And I have used it on a couple of occasions, and but it is, even for me, very difficult to go back and look at things like that, because when it's done for me, because I'm always on to the next one. So it's difficult at times to pause and go back and look over footage like that, but I have.
Mm-hmm. Cool. And then we had one question from the chat room. How is the man doing from the haunting episode, The Devil Inside Me?
He's doing very well, and I just made an appearance in Maryland this past Friday night, and he was supposed to be there, and he couldn't be there because he was working, but he's doing very well now, and I thank God and praise God for that. And that was another young man that had suffered quite a bit of trauma in his childhood and been through a lot of things, and God did deliver him, and I praise God for it. And I'm glad that question was asked, and I just made this appearance near BWI Airport in Maryland this past Friday night, and thank you to Margaret for hosting the event. And it was, a lot of people showed up. I was surprised because it was really, really cold out and windy, and I didn't think that very many people would even show up for this event, but people came from New York and New Jersey and Gettysburg, Pennsylvania. I couldn't believe it. I was shocked, and it was a great turnout. It was a wonderful evening. So looking forward to the next one, which the next one will be on March 10th in Brewster, New York, which is up near that Hudson Valley again. So I can't seem to stay away from that area for too long for some reason.
We're going to have to call you Bill Van Winkle.
It's amazing.
You stay in the Hudson Valley area.
Mm-hmm.
Incredible. Yeah, and I'm interested and intrigued to see how it's going to go this time. Is an object going to appear on the trip there or on the way back? You just wonder, and so we'll see. Maybe I'll have something to report to you the next time I'm on the show about that event. But
well,
you just never know.
I was going to ask a question in reference. There is a biblical passage in the book of Ephesians that talks about principalities.
Yeah.
Spiritual darkness, evil in high places. Do you feel that possibly, because you and I have had this conversation, you seem to be drawn to certain geographic locations at certain times? There have been times when you and I have been talking that you have been in New York over and over and over again. There are times that you're in Florida over and over and over again. Well, there is a reason for that. In biblical demonology, demons are given certain sovereignty over certain locales, certain locations.
Yeah.
Principalities.
I agree.
Do you feel that maybe that's why you're being drawn back to the Hudson Valley area? Because there is, at this point, a surge in demonic activity, and God needs a spirit warrior there. There needs to be a balance to offset that manifestation. Yeah,
I do believe that, and I totally agree. And so, I have found that it does shift, like Travis said. It does shift from area to area, and for some reason, it seems to have shifted to that area now. And New York City as well. I mean, I have a lot of clients in New York City, and then out towards the Hudson Valley, and in Jersey also. And two other places that I seem to frequent more than others are Chicago and Detroit. And
right.
I was in Detroit the night of the meteor and the big boom, and I was with a client, and I heard it, and I thought, what? I said to the client, I said, do you hear that? It can't be thunder. I mean, it was thunder times 10. It was so loud. And, come to find out, it was, which I think there's more to that story than just a meteor, because not too far away from where I was, something had come down and struck this garage and absolutely incinerated the garage and the car and all the contents in there. And I also find it interesting that there are other locations, like the most recent is in Nice, France, to where something has come down and created this giant crater in the ground. So something is going on here. I'm not quite sure what, but I also find it very disturbing and alarming that we now have all of these warning things going off in different parts. We just had it on the East Coast here, and in other places, Florida, Hawaii, and all these different places where they're, saying tsunamis coming in or missiles or whatever it may be. This is not a coincidence. This is not somebody behind a keyboard or something that just mistakenly hits the wrong button. There's a lot more to this story, and I don't know what it is, but something is definitely not right.
Right. Now, we've talked about the places that you go physically, but one of the things that I love about you is that your deliverances, you don't have to be there physically. You do phone.
True.
You do phone deliverances. You do Skype deliverances.
Yeah, it's true. I just helped a man in Denmark the day before yesterday.
So are there locations outside of the U.S. where you see surges?
I can't really pinpoint. Well, no, that's not true, because I've helped a lot of people in Scotland.
Okay.
Scotland, Ireland, the UK, Scandinavian countries, Brazil, Pakistan. There was actually a family in Pakistan that were under siege, and they were the only Christian family in their neighborhood, and they were under siege from demonic forces, and I helped them. And I remember a memorable, they're all memorable, but one in particular was with a family in France, and they did not speak English, and I do not speak French. And I really had to rely on God to get us all through this. And somehow, even though they couldn't, I guess, understand per se what I was saying, the power of God superseded that and actually did deliver them from the evil that was upon them. It was the most incredible thing. I mean, the family, the Mercier family, and I'll never forget it. It's amazing. And the last I heard, which was about probably 6 months ago, they're doing very well, and they're free from all of it. But they were having some really bad problems there. And so our God, his power is limitless, and even though there might be a language barrier, he has worked through me to conquer that. And then another family I did a Skype session with in Cairo, Egypt. And it was a mother and two of her daughters. And one of the daughters was in the beginning stages of possession and was exhibiting signs of possession during this Skype session. And God did work through me to take that from her, and they're doing very well now. So it's just amazing when I look back on some of these things, and it really takes somebody like Travis to ask the question to kind of jog my memory a little bit, because I'm always moving forward, but yet it's like this big blur as well. So I don't often reflect back because I'm always moving forward to the next one. Mm-hmm. But when I do look back and reflect a little bit, it's amazing. The power of God is amazing in some of these situations and people and places, just unbelievable.
Well, you operate in warrior mode 24/7. So it takes somebody like me to come back and say, okay, Bill, you did this, you delivered this person, this.
I've had people that will text me once in a while from years ago and will say, do you remember this or that? And I'm like, no, I don't remember that. I'm trying to remember that.
Mm-hmm. Oh, good. It's not just me then.
No, it's not. It's just and it's kind of like when I was married, my ex-wife is a college professor, and she had students. And God, she's been at the college now 20 years. So that, you can imagine how many students that come through there.
Yeah.
They all remember her. They'll come up, at homecomings and things like that, and they'll be introducing themselves and introducing their family, their wife, their kids, and things like that. And she has no idea who they are. And she's like,
I can understand that.
And she's like, I feel bad. And even now, even though we're not married, she's like, I feel bad. I said, but don't. I said, there was one of you to a classroom of 40 of them. They all knew who you were. You're not supposed to remember every single one of them. And it's not about importance. It's not about their a priority. It's not about them being less than. It's just there's you, Bill Bean, the spirit warrior and the deliverer, and there's all of these people that you're dealing with. All of these people that you're delivering, all these people that God is using you to help. No, you're not going to remember every single detail. They're going to remember things that you don't remember because they're also experiencing it from a different perspective than you are.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. You are right. And like your wife, I've had those moments of feeling bad because, you think, wow, I wish I could remember that, and I feel bad that I don't. But when you put it that way, it really does make perfect sense.
Because, think about it. In the 8 years that I've known you, how many people have you performed deliverances for?
Oh, I've lost count. It's probably in the hundreds, I'm sure. It's just
it's got to be.
Yeah, I've totally lost count. And just one after the other. And I've had days to where if I'm not traveling, there would be days to where I would sit here and maybe do 4 or 5 of those in a day and or night, one right after the other. And so I've also gone to churches to where the people would line up down the aisles, and I'm doing one after the other. So just, it becomes a blur after a while. You just, I can't even, there's no way I could put a number on it.
No, I mean, and so therefore, it's not that you don't remember these people. It's, you are at this point in your life, in your ministry, an extension of God.
Praise God.
And God's will and God's movement and God's functioning. And you have done amazing things. I've talked to some of the people that you have delivered. I've heard the stories. And hopefully you and I are working on something that other people are going to get to see these stories. They're going to get to see the files of Bill Bean, the Deliverance Minister and the Spirit Warrior, the Exorcist.
I certainly pray that. I do believe the time is coming for it. I do.
I think so.
And Travis, it was a very difficult week for me last week, because for the first time I'd come under attack. And this person, I don't know who this lady is, never met her in my life.
I know who you're talking about. I watched the video.
Yeah, she decided that she was going to take it upon herself to launch an attack against me. And it was all due to my speaking about the changes in the Bible, the scripture changes, and the Mandela effect, which is very, very real. I'm sorry to say this. I'm not trying to lead people away from God. Are you kidding me? My life is about bringing people to God. And so this person, and this is where it gets dangerous with people, to where I always say, and this is what my new book, The Connection, is about, making our strong connection with God. So it doesn't matter. Yes, the Bible is an inspired work of God, yes, but I do not worship the Bible. I worship God, and people are not to worship graven images. And some of these people start to worship the Bible, and when that happens, and somebody like me is out there speaking, about these changes, which are very true and very real, this really rubs some people the wrong way, and then they launch these attacks. And furthermore, I find it interesting that this took place just as I completed the manuscript of The Connection. Then all of a sudden this takes place, and this one lady who made the video is backed by someone else on YouTube that has hundreds of thousands of subscribers. And so it was a real attack that was launched, and a lot of people piled on as well. So perhaps it was not a lesson, but it was a testament of what we are to do when we are attacked. So there was an example there, and I praise God for helping me to, it's difficult, because I don't like to hear that people are saying terrible things about me. And this lady took this far beyond, just attacking me for the scripture changes. She was saying some personal things about me that were not true and really attacking me, and personally. And so that hurts when you have people that are, making a real effort to attack you in that way, especially say things that are not true. And so I endured it, and God got me through it. And I actually prayed that, God would help me to not take this into where it was, really hurting me in my spirit. I had such a headache, the first day when I was made aware of this, and it was a man that I've never met before named Ronnie, and I think his name is Ronnie Davis, and he had sent me a message saying, Mr. Bean, this woman is slandering you, she's attacking you, and I had no idea. So I, God bless him. I'm thankful that he made me aware of it. But, as I started reading these things and watching, I couldn't even watch it. She made like 8 videos about me. 8 videos.
She did, and it was actually one long video that she broke down into like 8 or 10 smaller videos. Yeah, it was. But you know as well as I couldn't even watch it all. Well, and you shouldn't. And as well as I do, 2 things. Number one, anytime you are standing for what is right, people come against you.
I agree.
And then number two, and I'm sorry to say this, but in Christianity, and I use that in very, very heavy air quotes, in Christianity, there are so many factions of people that believe one way and one. I mean, you've got those that believe it's only the King James Version of the Bible. You've got those that believe it's only the Baptist way. Those that believe it's only the Methodist way. Those that believe if you're anything other than Catholic, you're not. I mean, there's so many different views that it's, and this particular woman, I did watch the video. She obviously is, and even if you look at the messages that were posted to her YouTube page, there were people coming out against her because they were telling her she was a woman and she shouldn't be teaching at all because the Bible says a woman should remain silent, and which cracked me up. I'm going, ha.
Yeah. It was amazing, the back and forth. Yeah, it's true. I mean,
this is what happens when you open up that door. You're gonna start preaching and teaching and coming against somebody and claiming that you're standing on the Bible, and then you're going to have all these other people going, well, the Bible says, and the Bible says this, and the Bible says that, and the Bible, and that is the problem.
I agree.
In all honesty, and I watched her video, and I don't think, I mean, she targeted you because I think you are prominent in the Mandela effect issue. I think she was coming out against the whole concept of the Mandela effect and that things are changing. But I'm sorry, you brought up things. I've looked at it. I've done my own research, and I still have memories that I know are real. They're real in my mind that don't add up to current research that I can do and say, okay, I remember seeing this TV show or this ad. I remember things being spelled this way, and it's all changed. And it's all changed. So something is going on when it comes to this. Yeah, it is.
Mm-hmm.
Now,
and I'm not trying to fearmonger. I'm not trying to, certainly not trying to lead people away from God. My message is now is the time to draw as close to God as possible because of these times that we're in. I don't know exactly how this is happening. I mean, I have my suspicions, through CERN and D-Wave computers, but I'm not there. And even if I were there, I still wouldn't have the understanding of how that works. But it is supernatural nonetheless, and these changes are real nonetheless. I mean, for instance, 1 Corinthians 13:13, faith, hope, and love. Of these, the greatest is love, right?
Right.
It doesn't say that anymore. It says charity, faith, hope, and charity. Of these, the greatest thing is charity. Now, we know it was love. I've been in the homes of people who have had this scripture on their walls, like whether in wood blocks or up in some way, and it always said faith, hope, and love. And now it says faith, hope, and charity if you look in the King James Bible. So things like that. And then there are 42 scriptures now that have Ebonics in them. We be of Abraham's seed, on and on and on. This is not possible. You're talking about the most popular book in the history of mankind, the most widely distributed book in the history of mankind. Do you think that there's actually going to be grammatical errors like that in this great book? I think not. If so, people would have pointed that out a long time ago.
Right.
So, people are free to say whatever they want to say and believe what they want to believe. And I'm not trying to twist anybody's arm into believing anything. I'm just presenting something that I believe to be a fact. And, when we can show people that, hey, it did not say this, that this is what it said. And that, so not only am I saying that it's been changed, but I can show them what it used to say.
Right.
And still, some people say, yes, I see it, and they gasp and they go from there. But other people, they just refuse to believe that, and right away they will say that you are attacking God, you're attacking the Bible, you're an antichrist, you're this, you're that. Some of these people were actually telling people, and I think that lady was one of them, and there were others, that were saying that there were photos of me making the devil's hand gesture, the mano cornado, which is a satanic hand salute. That is a lie from hell. I never, ever did no such thing at any time in my entire life. I would cut my hands off and my fingers off before I would do such a thing. But these are the type of things that were going around and being said, and it's really sad and unfortunate. But I'm moving past it, and I praise God for helping me to move past it. And God bless those people, and God help them.
And again, misguided people sometimes are the most dangerous.
Yeah, it's very true.
They really are. I watched this woman's video, and she was heartfelt in what she was doing. She was just misguided, and that's not necessarily misguided into. Was she attacking you? I think partially she was attacking you. I think she was also just lashing out because her sense of stability in what she believed was being questioned. And she was having to question it. And we don't like that. We don't want to question. We simply want to adhere to, and we want things to remain the way that they always have been and the way that they always are going to be, at least in our mind. That's what we want.
Who are these we people? Because I sure don't feel that way.
Individuals that have been brought up and belong to organized religion. Those people who are immersed, because that's what it's about. I mean,
it's a brainwash. I'm sorry to say it. And again, I am not attacking Christianity. I'm not, but this is what it is. And it goes for anything. I mean, whether you go into the military, basic training in the military is designed to break the person down, to break their will so they can be reprogrammed with what the military needs that person to know and to be armed. It is a process, the same process to where, they want a transformation to take place, so there is a new mindset and belief system put into place. So, not bashing anybody, but that's what it is.
Unfortunately, organized religion, and I don't want to call it Christianity because I don't think true Christianity is organized religion.
Yeah, I agree.
I mean, and I don't even like using the term Christianity. I think that it's a much broader scope than that.
Yeah.
But organized religion wants people to think. They don't want people to think. They want you to react. They want you to do what you're told. Pray when you're supposed to pray. Go to church or mass or whatever when you're supposed to go. Adhere to these guidelines, and everything's okay. But true spirituality, true knowledge, true enlightenment, true whatever you want to call it, is much more about thinking, about doing, about impacting, about changing, about helping, about reaching out. It's all of those things that organized religion is not about.
I totally agree, and it all goes back to Rome, and it goes back to Constantine the Great, who was the founder and shaper of Christianity. And in the beginning, those priests were instructed to pray to the congregation and to teach the Bible to the congregation, and the congregants were not allowed to have a Bible. They were not allowed to study the Bible. It had to come from the priest, because the priest was seen as the extension of God, and therefore they were to be under his rule and authority. And so that's how that all came into play. So what you're saying is absolutely correct.
Well, and Constantine set up, quote unquote, the church as a mirror image of the Roman Empire. So you have the emperor, who is God on earth, dictating what is done, and therefore you have a priest who is God on earth dictating what is done in religion. And then but we, and I grew up in the Baptist faith, and we talk and we talk crap about the Catholics and the Papists and all. But the fact of the matter is, we've done the same thing. We've set up Jerry Falwell, we've set up Pat Robertson, and we've set up all these other entities who are talking heads, nothing more than talking heads. And then we expect to other people to follow them, and they say vote this way, and they say do this, and they say dress this way, and they say sing these songs, and don't do this, and it's none of it is about as you say in your book, a connection, because literally it is about a connection between one person and God, not one person and a congregation and a spiritual leader and God, but one person and one God, a connection. It is an interpersonal relationship.
And without it, we don't have anything. So you can go to church 24/7. If you don't have that real and personal connection with God, then you don't have anything.
Absolutely.
You're wasting your time. And it's very sad because there are so many people that are in the churches that are lost. And they, especially like the mega churches, to where these people will go in and they feel like they're just they're in the crowd, but they're just totally looked over. They're not making any connection with the pastor or the hierarchy, the assistants or anything. They're not making any, so they're just there. And some of these people are on antidepressants, and they're hopeless, and they get frustrated. And some of these people end up leaving the church, and then they lose their faith because their thoughts were misguided to where they should have been making their personal connection with God. And it's wonderful to gather and worship and assemble in praise, real praise and worship of our glorious God. That's wonderful. But if you are going there without making your real and personal connection with God, then you are wasting your time.
There is an old, very old, country/Southern gospel song. Hank Williams Sr. did it. And it was done years ago, like the 1940s, 1950s. But I think it speaks volumes to established religion. And I only, off the top of my head, I can only give you one line. It was me and Jesus got our own thing going. Me and Jesus got it all worked out. That one line, but it encapsulates what the true essence of spirituality is about. One person and a higher being. And there are people that they don't want to call it God. They want to say Yahweh. They want to say Yeshua. They want to say Jesus. I get it. Quite frankly, I think God is too big to put any name on.
Very well. May be that way, Travis. And I just think that the bottom line, you're right, is that we have to connect with Him in that way, no matter where we are, no matter what we're doing.
I think
if we establish that real and true connection, then we'll be blessed.
I think He speaks to us individually, and no doubt. And I think we have to answer individually, not in mass, not in congregate. I mean, He speaks one-on-one. Not choosing one over the other, but he chooses each one individually to speak to us. I'm not saying he separates.
A lot of people miss
out.
The message, though.
Yeah, they do.
They miss the message because of what's currently taking place in the world, where we are just immersed in all of these things that are really designed by the devil to break and distort our connection with God. So a lot of people miss that message from God. And then they stand there and say, well, where are you? How come you won't talk to me? And the whole time God's been there trying to talk to them and trying to give them something, and they can't grasp it. They miss it.
Absolutely.
I can't believe that we're at 11:04 already. The time just goes so fast, and I look forward to coming back the next time. And we'll really dig into the book, The Connection.
Yeah.
And, I'm again, blessed and thankful and grateful to be able to have written the book. And I just pray that God will work through the book to reach and touch and help many more.
Well, and having read the book, I can tell you it's going to.
Well, go on and tell us a little bit more about it. Maybe read the foreword that Travis did, or the. Oh
yeah, it's awesome. Please? I mean, he did an awesome forward there, and I say review forward because it's really a great. It is a great review. I mean, I'll probably feature it as a review as well. But Travis wrote this saying, "I count myself a very fortunate and blessed man. For the past 8 years, I've been able to call Bill Bean my friend and brother. He started as a client, and very quickly our relationship evolved to a more personal than professional level. Over the years, I've had talks, conversations, conferences with Bill, and have glimpsed different aspects of the life events that have made him the man and warrior that he is today. He is a man that is revered, respected, and loved by thousands of people the world over. He has assisted, saved countless lives and relationships as God has used him as a spiritual warrior and a deliverance minister. Bill's story of horrifying events during his early childhood are common knowledge among his followers and friends today. These events that terrorized, traumatized, and produced tragic ends for his mother and father could have, would have, and should have destroyed anyone, but not Bill. Where Bill's story of a haunting and demonic oppression differs from so many is that the events strengthened and emboldened Bill to become something more than a mere shell of a man and damaged by product. It instilled with Bill a need and a desire to form a connection with God and his fellow man. Bill has penned 3 books prior to the connection. In Dark Forest, Bill relives his story for us, the reader, so we can get a glimpse into the horror that overshadowed his family. Then in Delivered, Bill continues outlining the various supernatural and paranormal phenomena that followed and surrounded him. A few years ago, Bill offered his readers and followers 10 Steps to Victory, which outlined the 10 basic steps that Bill has incorporated into his life of victorious living. And now Bill has rounded out his story by drawing all 3 previous works together into the connection. Bill stresses the importance of seeking and solidifying a strong connection with God in every aspect of our life. He draws a literal connection between the past events of his life and in his present 24/7 spiritual warrior lifestyle, and that connection is God. Read these pages not just with an open mind, but an open heart, spirit, and soul. Connect with God and see God do great things into and around and for you and your loved ones. R. Travis Short, co-host Mystic Moon Cafe, founder of Aspire Communications, and retired Southern Baptist minister. So that is, the best forward that you could ever imagine, and it truly does. And Wendy, now that you've heard it, you can understand why I say that I think it really sets the tone for the book.
Absolutely. That was really nice. Now, if I leave a review or anything, it's not going to be as eloquent. It will be honest and forthright, but not eloquent like that.
You never know. It very well may be, and I look forward to your review, and I appreciate you taking the time to read it.
Absolutely. Now, when is that coming out again? Or do you know yet?
I believe, Annette, I want to thank Annette Munich from Stellium Books. It looks like it could be out next week or the week after. I'm not entirely sure yet, but as soon as it is out, I will let both of you know. And just look forward to really, in between helping people, I'm going to do a lot more speaking events in 2018 now, because people really need to get copies of this book. It is truly a guidebook. Yes, the first part of the book is a compilation of the other 3 in my journey and how God got me here from there. But it's super important for the reader to know that in order to be able to get to mid-book, to where it turns into the instruction manual on how people can connect with God and move forward in a great way, allowing God's blessings to flow over them by making that strong connection. And I guarantee you, as sure as I'm saying this, that if a person truly does commit to God in that way, then abundant blessings will follow.
Very, very good.
So, Bill, how can folks follow you and get in touch with you if they need you?
Well, first of all, I want to thank you both very much for having me again. It's always an honor and a pleasure, and the time always goes so fast.
You're basically a third co-host. I mean, we don't even consider you a guest.
Right,
I mean, you're basically a third co-host. We bring you on every chance we can. You're part of the family.
Love it. I love it and look forward to the next time. And for anybody out there who may be having problems and might be, you may be at the end of your rope, or you might feel that you're cursed or under some form of demonic oppression, or maybe even heading into a possession. Whatever the case may be, get in touch with me. I'm busy, but I'm never too busy to help somebody. And so you could find me at billbean.net or billbeanministries.com. Or you could simply punch my name into Google and you'll get the phone book. I promise you'll be able to find me. I'm not hard to find. And I'll get back in touch with you, or my assistant Melinda will get back in touch with you, and I'll certainly do anything that I can to help, and we'll let God do the rest. But I look forward to this year of 2018. It has started off very, very well, and I know it's going to be a fantastic year. And I just look forward to reaching and touching, helping many more people. And also looking forward to getting out there again and making more appearances. I didn't do that so much in 2017 because I was just so busy with the clients. But I'm going to, in this year of 2018, which has already started, with these appearances, try to focus on also making more of the appearances to get this book and this message out to the people. So it's already started off as a great year, and it's going to be a very great and exciting year by the time it's all said and done.
Awesome. Yep, very, very good. Now, I need to clarify something. Wait, Bill, I got to clarify it. I got to do it. Now, see, earlier today, when you called Travis then messaged me to say that you were running late and that you were you were finishing a last-minute landscaping project. And which I immediately replied to that no, really, because I think he's under about a foot of snow and ice out back east there somewhere. And
it's pretty cold.
Well, okay, but now let me interject. What I heard you say when I was at the gym, what I heard you say was that you were doing a last minute delivery of dirt.
No, no, I actually had to do something for my wife, and I had to take my wife somewhere, and so that's what delayed me.
So we've been going back and forth. Wendy's like, "Are you sure he didn't do a last minute deliverance?" I'm like, "Maybe." I said that would make more sense.
Deliverance. I said,
delivery dirt. I said I couldn't hear the gym, and then there was a bad connection. I said I don't know, and so
it was actually a domestic matter.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, she's been giving me grief and basically grilling me all night over my misunderstanding.
Wait. The peanut gallery is also with me, so
I know. But they are peanuts. I heard what I heard. I was at the gym. The service was bad. I simply relayed. Bill, I thought it would be enough that Bill wasn't going to be on at 9. I didn't know I was going to have to delve into why he wasn't going to be on at 9.
Travis, now we're really in trouble because Cindy is with us, of our KC Tarot, and she said, silly question. If cold spots manifest when spirits are around, does that still happen in very cold weather?
Well, actually...
Of course. And I've been in a home in Pennsylvania to where it was a bitter cold day, and when I was binding and casting out... but when I was binding and casting out the entities out of this certain room, the temperature rose like 15 degrees after the entities were cast out of there. The temperature in that room, it was so cold in there you could see your breath.
Mm-hmm.
And once the entities were bound and cast out, the room temperature came up dramatically.
Mm-hmm.
Oh boy!
Well, and we had that conversation with Ross Allison last week in June, talking about the castles there in the UK. When they're investigating in castles where you have dirt floors and it's already cold, measuring a cold spot takes a whole different meaning.
Yeah.
Yes.
Because the temperature has to drop dramatically for it to register. But and as Bill's saying, if you're dealing with a demonic presence, if you're getting rid of that entity, then the temperature is going to come back up. It's going to come back up to normal, or at least close to normal theoretically.
It's true. Yeah. So it's true. I've seen it. I've experienced it. So yes, that's a good question, and it's very true and valid.
Now, this is an interesting topic, and I'm going to toss this out, and this is something for Bill to think about and Cindy to think about. It would be fascinating for her to do a reading on Bill.
Ooh.
Well, I don't know if I'm ready for that.
It's astrology, so it's not quite as brutal as some others.
But it would be fascinating to do a reading on Bill. to find out, if Bill's birth date and his birth year and all those alignments all line up. Birth time, all those things. That would be fascinating.
City.
So,
and I think I was born at night. I think I was born at like 10:25 at night on July 29th, and so I was.
Same year
and
as
it makes
me, right?
sense because I'm a night owl for sure.
yeah.
It's what did you say, Wendy? Leo?
Well, I said it was the same year as me, I believe. 66.
Oh, okay, yeah, 66.
Okay, and what city was that? Yeah.
Well, you guys are just 10 years older than me. To hear you all talk, you think you were a bunch of cranky old farts. I mean, I'm just tossing that out.
We
I look
deal
back
with the
on
naughty
that now,
child.
and I just can't believe it. It seems like yesterday I was 25, and today it's amazing. But even with that, I'm thankful to God. I still have a full head of hair. I have a little bit of gray in my beard, but I still have my real hair. I don't dye my hair.
I actually think I have more gray than you. I actually think I have more gray than you, in all honesty.
I don't know. I don't see any gray in your hair.
Oh, it's there. The temples and the mustache and goatee are full of gray.
Well, some would call that distinguished. So I told my wife, once it all goes gray, I don't care. It's going to stay gray. I'm not going to resort to the dye bottles and all that.
I'm cool with the gray. I'm okay with it. I'll go Richard Gere.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm fine with that. I'll go gray.
It'll work. Yeah, that will definitely work. But I just think for me, I couldn't see myself putting on that hair dye to where it would look like I put shoe polish on my hair or something. I just couldn't. I couldn't go the shoe polish look.
Yeah, it wouldn't be good. Wouldn't be good.
I've seen some guys put that in their beards too, and it just looks like.
Oh, it's bad.
I mean, really, it looks like you have put shoe polish on your face.
Yeah.
Yep, it's bad. Very, very bad.
So I'm thankful for God keeping me, and I try to keep myself in good shape. I work out all the time. I mean, but I love to eat. So it's always a battle there as well because I have a love of good food, that's for sure, and so it's always a battle with the waistline.
Oh yeah.
Well, they always say, that stuff will kill you, and I'm like, yeah, but we're all going to die anyway.
And I'll at least die with a smile on my face. Yeah.
That's inevitable. That's a day that's and a time that's going to come, and nothing's going to stop it. And so we just that's as much a part of life as life itself. So.
Absolutely. So, Bill, as far as the book, you said maybe about a week before it's available. How can when it is available, how can folks buy it?
Yeah, once it's available, it'll be available over my websites, but it'll also be available through Amazon.com, BarnesandNoble.com, Ingram.com. So there will be lots of different places that the book will be available to the public. And again, I sent out PDFs to probably, I don't know, maybe 100 people, just people that are friends, and just to try and get some feedback. And I'm getting so many responses back saying, wow, this is awesome. This really is a good book. And I sent it out to a man that I used to work for as a driver and a bodyguard. And he has a publication business. Mm-hmm. That's what he does. And he sent it back, and he said, he's read all the other books. He said, I think this is your best one. And he said, I think this is really going to reach a lot of people. So praise God. It's been all positive feedback. And so I'm very, very happy, and I'm blessed, and I'm proud of it. And I thank God and praise God for inspiring me to write it.
And it is a wonderful book. I encourage everyone, when it is available, order The Connection by Bill Bean.
Yep, and we will put up links as it becomes available.
Yes.
Well, thank you so much, guys. I really appreciate it, and we'll we'll talk soon and get another date set to come back on, and we'll really dig into this thing and the other things as well, because there's so many more things to talk about. I wanted to talk about this Sweet Jesus ice cream thing. Are you guys aware of that yet?
I saw you sent me a post about it. I haven't looked into it, but yeah, let's shoot for maybe like early March. We'll get you back on. We'll talk about that. We'll talk about the book, because by then the book will be out, and then we'll deal with that. But yeah, that what you sent just fascinated me from a marketing and branding standpoint. I'm going, this is interesting to say the least.
Well, they say controversy creates cash, so exactly. I don't think it could be much more controversial than what the early presentations of it are. And this company originates out of Canada, and the first location in the United States, interestingly enough, was here in Maryland at BWI Airport. And now the second location has just opened at the Mall of America in Minneapolis, and there's going to be other locations as well. So, yeah, we'll have to dig into that, some other topics the next time for sure.
Absolutely. We'll have you back on. Like I said, I'll get with you after the show. We'll schedule you like the first or second week of March.
Or
Sounds great.
Or
all
just
right,
get a hold of me on Facebook, Bill. You know how to do that. We're good with that.
Yeah, either way, it'll work out one way or the other, and we'll do this again soon. So love and God bless you both.
Thank you,
looking
sir.
forward to the next time, and thank everybody out there for listening in.
Yep.
Yep.
Wendy.
All right, guys. Have a good night.
All right, you too, Bill. Thanks.
Wendy, what are you taking us out with?
I don't know. Which do you want? You want This Is Me by Keela Settle or A Little Wicked by Valerie Broussard?
This Is Me.
Okie dokie. Then, good night, everybody. We will be back next week. I don't know who we're having yet, but we will have another fun and good guest.
It's always fun.
Thank you all in the chat room. It was fun and always enlivening of a show.
Good night.
Good night.
A stranger to the dark. Hide away, they say, 'cause we don't want your broken parts. I've learned to be ashamed of all my scars. Run away, they say, no one will love you as you are. But I won't let them break me down to dust. I know that there's a place for us, for we are glorious. When the sharpest words wanna cut me down, I'm gonna send the blood, gonna drown them out. I am brave, I am bruised, I am who I'm meant to be. This is me. Look out, 'cause here I come, and I'm marching on to the beat I drum. I'm not scared to be seen, I make no apologies. This is me. Another round of bullets hits my skin. I'm gonna send the blood, gonna drown them out. This is brave, this is bruised, this is who I'm meant to be, this is me.
Thank you for joining us tonight. You've been listening to Mystic Moon Cafe. Join us every Wednesday from 9 to 11 p.m. Eastern. Be sure to like us on Facebook and follow us on Twitter. On behalf of Wendy Schindler, this is Travis Short saying have a great rest of your week.
That's all, folks.